So I welcome you in this design of key, which is from unit 4, and this is the part 1 on the design of key. So first of all, let us see what is the definition of key. So key can be defined as a machine element which is used to connect the transmission shaft to rotating machine elements like pulleys, gears, sprocket or flywheel. So key is a machine element which is used to connect the transmission shaft, okay, which is used to connect the transmission shaft to rotating machine elements. Okay, so these rotating machine elements may be like pulley, gears, sprockets, flywheels or couplings also. Okay, so whatever the mechanical elements, rotating mechanical elements, machine elements that we want to mount on the shaft, at that time we required key to connect the rotating shaft with these rotating machine elements. Okay, so this is the definition of key. So a keyed joint consists of this shaft, this hub and key. Okay, so these are the three basic elements for keyed joint. Okay, this is the shaft that we want to connect with this hub, and to connect the shaft with the hub we required key. Okay, so if you observe this diagram carefully, we required keyway here, okay, in the shaft. Also we required keyway in the hub, and in this keyway of shaft and hub we have to insert this key so that this keyed joint can be formed. Okay, so you can better way understand this assembly. Key is inserted in the keyway of shaft and hub. Okay, now what is this hub? Remember that this circular part, so disc like circular part may be either gear, pulley, flywheel or coupling. Okay, and this hub is a extended part of this pulley, flywheel or gear, okay, in which keyway is formed, and in this keyway key is inserted. Okay, so this hub is the part of pulley, this hub is also part of flywheel, this hub is also part of coupling. So whichever rotating machine element that you want to mount on the shaft, the hub is present, and this hub consists of keyway where the key is inserted. Okay, so that's why hub is the part of pulley, flywheel, couplings, all these rotating elements. Okay, next is there are two basic functions of the key. So first is to transfer the torque from shaft to the hub. Okay, now whenever I say the hub, you consider this, it is a hub of, it may be the hub of pulley, it may be the hub of gear, it may be hub of coupling. Okay, so the basic function of this key is to transfer the torque from shaft to hub of the mating elements, or vice versa can be happen, that is torque can be transmitted from hub of mating element to the shaft. Okay, like in coupling takes place. If you remember, in the coupling the power is transmitted from the motor to the motor shaft. From the motor shaft the torque is transmitted from input flange through key. Then from the input flange the torque is transmitted to the output flange, and from the output flange the torque is transmitted to the output shaft through the key. So here it is written that the vice versa is possible. The torque may be transmitted from shaft to the hub, or torque may be transmitted from hub to shaft through this key. Okay. Second function is to prevent the relative rotational motion between the shaft and the joint machine element like gear or pulley. Okay, now here the basic point is what is relative motion. Okay, here I have said that it is prevent the relative motion, but what is relative motion or what is relative rotational motion? Now just imagine that there is one shaft and there is one gear mounted on that shaft. Okay, if keyway is not used, okay, now just assume one condition that keyway is not used or key is not used in this application. There is only a shaft and gear is mounted on that shaft. Okay, now assume that the shaft is rotating at 100 rpm. Okay, assume that the shaft is rotating at 100 rpm and gear is also rotating at 100 rpm. Okay, in this case there is no relative rotational motion, there is no relative motion between gear and shaft. Why there is no relative motion? Because both gear and shaft, gear and shaft are rotating at the same rpm. Okay, so that's why we can say that there is no relative motion. But if you know that, you already know that these gears are used to transfer the power. Okay, so there are some resistance to the motion, there are some external forces during this power transmission, and thus there may be a situation where in case where there is no key, the shaft may be rotating at, let us say, 100 rpm and the gear may be rotating at, let us say, 90 rpm or 80 rpm. Okay, So this is called as relative motion. So this relative motion is means there is a difference between RPM of shaft and RPM of gear, and this occurs in a situation where key is not used. Okay, so this basically happens because the slippage. Okay, so gear will keep on slip on that shaft. Okay, gear will keep on slipping on that shaft because there is no key. Okay, so such situation of relative motion between the shaft and gear can be avoided with the help of key and keyway. Okay, so it is said that to prevent the relative rotational motion between the shaft and whatever the rotational element mounted on that shaft. Okay. The third point is key also prevent the axial motion between the two elements. Now you imagine that there is a shaft, and on that shaft we have mounted the pulley with the belt. Okay, so there is a shaft and pulley is mounted on that shaft along with the belt. Okay, so if you are using a key, if you are using a key in such application of shaft and pulley system, there will not be a axial motion of pulley along the length of shaft. Okay, as you have used the key, there will not be any axial motion of that pulley along the length of shaft. So the axial motion is prevented with the help of key. But in certain cases, this axial motion is allowed by key, like a feather key. Okay, so you remember from MCQ point of view, the feather key is a key that allows the relative motion between these two elements, that is the shaft and rotating machine element mounted on the shaft. Okay, now in which applications this axial motion is required? So if you imagine the application of gear shaft where we required the axial motion of shaft. Okay, where we need to move this shaft, we need to move the gear along the length of shaft. Okay, the application of gearbox is such an application where we required the axial motion of gear, that is the motion of gear along the length of shaft. So in that case we can use the feather key. Okay, but remember that in the gearbox, as the power is huge power is transmitted in the gearbox. Okay, so feather key is not used, even though that allows the axial motion of gear, but this feather key is used in the another application, that is clutch. Okay, so in the clutch we use this feather key so that one plate can have the axial motion with respect to another plate on the shaft. Okay, so this is about the functions of key. Now next part is types of key. So first type is a saddle key. Okay, now you know what is this external circle. External circle represents the hub. Okay, in this diagram whatever I have shown this external circle, it represents the hub, and already I have explained that what is hub. Hub is the part of rotating machine element that are mounted on the shaft. So hub is always the part of gear, hub is the always part of coupling, hub is the always part of pulley, hub is the always part of flywheel. Okay, in which keyway is produced. Okay, so this outer circle represents the hub. So this hub may be pulley, flywheel or coupling. Okay, inner circle represents the shaft. Okay, now if you see here, this is the key. Okay, now this key is inserted in only hub. Okay, so there is a keyway in only hub, there is no keyway on the shaft. Okay, and in this is the second diagram of the saddle key, in which also you can see that there is no keyway in the shaft. So in the saddle key basically there is no keyway on the shaft. Okay, keyway is present only in the hub. Okay, but there is a difference between these two diagrams. If you see this figure A and figure B, in the figure A the bottom surface of this key is having concave surface. Okay, so bottom surface of this key is having concave surface which matches with the circular surface of the shaft. Okay, the second key is having flat surface. The second key, the bottom surface of key is having flat surface which matches with the flat surface of the shaft. Here some surface of the shaft is machined so that we can have the flat surface on the shaft. But remember, keyway is not produced, only we have made the surface of this shaft flat at certain region where we want to connect the key. Okay, so this type of key having concave surface is called as hollow saddle key. Okay, so from MCQ point of view it is very important. The key having concave surface is called as hollow saddle key. Okay, and the key having bottom surface flat is called as flat saddle key. Concave surface called as saddle key, hollow saddle key. Flat bottom surface is called as flat saddle key. And most important point, there is no keyway on the shaft. Keyway is present only in the hub. Okay, so here these 2 points are points are mentioned here. The saddle key is a key which fits in the keyway of the hub only. Okay, and in this case there is no keyway on the shaft. Okay, so same point I have discussed. Okay, now consider the next point related to the saddle key. The hollow saddle key has a concave surface at the bottom which matches with the circular surface of the shaft. So as I mentioned, this bottom surface of the key has concave surface which matches with the circular surface of the shaft, and the flat saddle key having flat surface at the bottom and which sits on the flat surface machined on the shaft. Okay, so this flat saddle key has the flat surface at the bottom which matches with the flat surface of the shaft. Okay, most important point in the saddle key, power is transmitted by means of friction. Okay, and hence used for light duty or low power transmission. So this is the most important point related to saddle key. So as you can see that here the keyway is not present in the shaft. Okay, both in hollow saddle key and flat saddle key, keyway is not present in the shaft. Keyway is only present in the hub. So key is inserted only in the keyway of hub in both the cases, but here the power is transmitted due to friction. Now which friction is considered here? So friction between hub, key and shaft. Friction between hub, key and shaft is responsible for power transmission. Okay, so this point is very important. Power is transmitted by means of friction between hub, key and shaft, and as the power is transmitted by means of only friction, so this type of key is used for low power transmission or light duty. Okay, now just here you have to think on this point. Just purposefully I have added this slide here. Resistance to slip is more in option number A, hollow saddle key, option number B, flat saddle key. So you just note down this point. Resistance to slip is more in hollow saddle key or flat saddle key. You just consider these two diagrams and just you note down this line, this question, resistance to slip is more in dash dash dash. First option hollow saddle key, second option flat saddle key. So at the end of lecture I am going to ask this question to you, in which case, in which both of these cases the resistance to slip is more. Okay, so just you note down this question and options, or you can take the snapshot. Now the next type of key is sunk key. Okay, now in the last type we have seen that there is no keyway in the shaft. Okay, as in the saddle key there is no keyway in the shaft, keyway was present only in the hub. Now this is the next type, the next modification, that is the sunk key. Now you can see here this is the shaft. Okay, and there is a keyway in this shaft. Okay, and this is the key. Now here you can see some dimensional parameters of the key, that is B is equal to H. Okay, this is the height H, this is the width B, and here the width B and height H is same here, that is B is equal to H. So this is a first type of key. Okay, for A type of key, B is equal to H, that is height is equal to width. Now this is considered the second diagram where the height is H, width is B, but this width B is little bit longer or greater than the height. So we can say that B is greater than H. Okay, so these are the two subtypes of sunk key. Okay, so sunk key has two subtypes. First is the square sunk key and second is the rectangular sunk key. You can just see that these two diagrams, first cross section of the key is having square cross section where B is equal to H, and in the second cross section of the key B is greater than H. Okay, so B and H are not equal in the rectangular sunk key. So this square sunk key and rectangular sunk key are the two subtypes of sunk key. On the this leftmost diagram you can see that this is the key. Now here there is a taper shown on this key. Okay, so in the sunk key actually there are two more subtypes. In the first subtype the key is parallel. Okay, key is parallel means what? There is no taper on the key. Okay, in the parallel key, parallel sunk key, there is no taper on the key. Okay, and there is another sunk key, that is the tapered sunk key. So in the tapered sunk key the taper is provided of the magnitude 1:100. Okay, so you just remember these 2 points which I have not added into this PPT, that sunk key having two types, subtypes, square sunk key, rectangular sunk key, according to its cross sectional dimension parameters. Okay, where B is equal to H, it is the square sunk key. If B is greater than H, it is the rectangular sunk key. But there are further two subtypes, that is called as parallel sunk key and tapered sunk key. In the parallel sunk key, this bottom surface and top surface of the key are parallel. Okay, all the faces of the key are parallel. It is a parallel sunk key. There is no taper on the key. And second one is the tapered sunk key, where the taper is provided of the magnitude 1:100. So this is the important point from MCQ. Okay. Now let us talk about the definition of sunk key. Okay, so sunk key is the key in which half the thickness of the key fits into the keyway on the shaft and remaining half in the keyway of the hub. Okay, so as you compare the previous type, there was no keyway in the shaft, so there was no question of inserting the key into the shaft. Okay, but here keyway is present both on the shaft and hub, and half portion of this key fits into the shaft and half portion of the key fits into the hub. Okay, the keyways are required both on the shaft as well as hub of rotating elements. Okay, so you just remember this point. In the sunk key, keyway is required on the shaft as well as hub, and half portion of the key is in shaft and half portion of the key is in the hub. Okay, so this is very simple part. Now next, consider next point. In the sunk key, power is transmitted due to the shear resistance of the key. This is the most important point, and a very similar point that we have discussed in the saddle key is that in the saddle key, power was transmitted due to friction. In the sunk key, power is transmitted due to shear resistance of the key. Okay, so this is the important point. Since there is no possibility of the key to slip, okay, as this key is fitted into the shaft and hub, there is no possibility of slip, and thus sunk key can be used for heavy duty applications. Okay, now if you compare the sunk key and saddle key with respect to power transmission capacities, the sunk key is used to transmit more power as compared to saddle key, because in the saddle key power was transmitted due to friction between hub key and shaft, but here as there is no slippage, as key is fitted into the shaft and hub, so this is the more rigid joint as compared to saddle keys, and thus this sunk key can be used for heavy duty power transmission or heavy duty applications. Now let us talk about the dimensional parameters of the square sunk key, and later on we will talk about the dimensional parameters of the rectangular sunk key. Okay, so as we know that the square sunk key has width is equal to height, so B is always equal to H for square sunk key. So we can write B is equal to H, which is taken as D by 4, where D is the diameter of shaft. Okay, now this is the diameter this is the shaft and it is having diameter D. Okay, so we can take width and height of this square sunk key equal to 1/4 of diameter of shaft. Okay, that is D by 4. So this is the important relation which we have to use in the numerical also, and from MCQ point of view this is important relation. Now length, L is the length of key, you can see in this diagram. So here you can see the length. This length can be taken as equal to 1.5 times of diameter of shaft. Okay, where this B is the width of key. Okay, so B is the width of key, H is the height of key, and L is the length of key. Okay, and this D is the diameter of shaft. Now let us consider the dimensional parameters of the rectangular sunk key. So as we know that in the rectangular sunk key, B is not equal to H and B is greater than H. Okay, so B is equal to D by 4, 1/4 of diameter of shaft, width is equal to D by 4, and H is taken as 2/3 into B. Okay, 2/3 of B, and if you put the value of B here, it is D by 4, 2/3 into D by 4, we get here D by 6. Okay, so remember here for rectangular sunk key, B is equal to D by 4 and H is equal to 2/3 of this B, but B is D by 4. So if you put here B is equal to D by 4, you will get D by 6. So H is equal to D by 6. This is a very important point for MCQ. Okay, and L is same for flat as well as rectangular sunk key. L is 1.5 D. Okay, where this B is width of key, this H is the height or thickness of key, and L is the length of key, and D is the diameter of shaft. Okay, so these are the two dimensional very important parameters for square sunk key and rectangular sunk key that we have to use in the numericals. Now the third type of key is feather key. Okay, so now if you look at this diagram, okay, so this is a total assembly of this feather key with the hub and shaft. So this is a shaft. Okay, this is the hub. Okay, and keyway is present in both hub and shaft, But if you look at this three-dimensional figure, you can see this is the keyway made in the shaft, okay, by milling operation, and this is the key. Now this key, its end has, okay, its end has some rounded surfaces, okay, its end are not flat, its ends are rounded, okay, that we have to fit this key into this keyway of shaft. You can see here there are two holes on this key, okay. So with the help of this screw, with the help of this two screw, we have to fit, or we have to fix this key into this shaft, okay. With the help of two screws inserted into these two holes, we have to fix this key into this shaft. So in the feeder key, the key is fixed to the shaft with the help of screw. Remember that in the previous two cases we have not used the screws, we have not fixed the keys to the shaft, but in the feeder key we have to fix this key to the shaft with the help of screw. There is a particular reason why this key is fixed to the shaft with the help of screw, because here we want the axial moment of this hub which is mounted on the shaft, okay. We want axial moment of the hub, that is, we want the moment of this hub along the length of shaft. You can see the side view of this key. Here this is the shaft, keyway is both present in the shaft and hub, okay, and this is the cross section of the key, okay. So definition of feeder key is that feeder key is a parallel key. Now already I have explained you what is parallel key and what is tapered key, okay. Parallel key is the key in which all the faces of the key are parallel to each other, okay, just like its cross section is uniform along the length. So whenever I say that it is the parallel key, its cross section is uniform along the length. If this, you can see its cross section is rectangular, so this cross section is uniform along the length of key. But in the taper key it is not the case. We know that in the taper is provided of the magnitude 1:100, so the cross section will change at every section, okay. If you take the cross section at start of that key, if you take the cross section at the middle length of key, and if you take the cross section at the end of length of key, the cross section will be different at every section because there is a taper. But here the feeder key is not the tapered key, it is the parallel key, okay. So cross section will remain same along the length of key, which is fixed either to the shaft or hub, okay. So this key has to be fixed either to the shaft or hub, but in the most of the cases where we require the linear motion of the hub, this key is fixed to the shaft, okay, and which permits the relative axial movement between them, okay. So as we have fixed this key to the shaft, hub is mounted on the shaft with the help of key, okay. So this hub can have the axial movement along the shaft, that is, this hub can have the motion along the length of shaft, and this application of this feeder key is in the clutch, okay. So figure shows the feeder key which is fixed to the shaft by means of two cap screws having countersink heads, okay. So this is not the important part, so these are the two cap screws. So as these are the cap screws having countersunk head, okay. So it is just a type of screw which is used to fix this key to the shaft. Then feeder keys are used where the parts mounted on the shaft are required to slide along the shaft length, such as clutch or gear shifting devices, okay. So as I already explained that this feeder key allows the rotating machine element which is mounted on the shaft to move along the length. So axial movement of the rotating machine element is possible just like a clutch or gears, okay. So clutch, in the application of clutch and gears shifting devices, we have to use this feeder key. And most important point again, this feeder key is the replacement to the spline connection, okay. So you might have observed this spline connection into the propeller shaft, okay. So this spline shaft is also used in the gearbox, this spline shaft is also used in the propeller shaft, so that there is a axial movement possible between two elements, okay. So this feeder key is the alternative to the spline connections. We are going to discuss this spline shaft in the next lecture, okay. So just you remember that feeder key is the replacement to the spline connection. Now the fourth type is Woodruff key, okay. So first of all, let us see the definition. A Woodruff key is a sunk key in the form of almost a semicircular disc of uniform thickness. So you can see this is a semicircular disc and its thickness is uniform, okay. So this is the semicircular disc and thickness is uniform. This is called as Woodruff key, okay. The keyway in the shaft is in the form of semicircular recess, okay. So this is the shaft, okay, and the keyway produced in this shaft is having semicircular recess, so that this semicircular key can fit into this semicircular recess on the shaft. Okay. If you compare this keyway with previous all the types of keys, okay, so in the previous all the types of keys, the keyway in the shaft was having either a rectangular cross section or square cross section. Okay, but here this key is having a semicircular recess, okay, in which the semicircular key will fit. Okay, and the keyway in the hub is same as the top previous all the types of keys. Okay, so there is no change in the keyway on the hub for this Woodruff key and previous types, but the keyway in the shaft is different for this Woodruff key, and it is having semicircular recess where this semicircular key can rest. Okay. The bottom portion of the Woodruff key fits into the same circular keyway in the shaft. Okay, so this bottom surface of the Woodruff key having circular surface that will fit into this semicircular keyway in the shaft. The keyway in the hub is made in the usual manner. So as I told you that keyway in the hub is for this Woodruff key and for previous key is same. There is no change in the keyway on the hub, but keyway in the shaft is different in the Woodruff key. The projecting part of Woodruff key fits into the keyway of the hub. So this is the projecting part. Okay, so this flat surface of this Woodruff key, which is along the diameter of this semicircular key, that will fit into this keyway of the hub. The extra depth of the key in the shaft prevents its tendency to slip over the shaft. Okay, so you can see that what happens due to this semicircular key. This semicircular key causes the more depth of key in this shaft, so which avoids the slippage of this key along the shaft. Okay, so tendency of slip over the shaft can be avoided by this extra depth. So depth is provided to this key by this semicircular shape. The advantages are these are the two advantages. The Woodruff key can be used on the tapered shaft because it can align by slight rotation in the shaft. So this you just remember that this Woodruff key in which application it is used. So suppose you are using a tapered shaft. So in that tapered shaft this Woodruff key is used, which aligns itself with help of just a little bit rotation of the seat. Okay. The extra depth of the key in the shaft prevents tendency to slip over the shaft, that already discussed. Okay. So the slippage is avoided due to the extra depth of this key. The disadvantages are the extra depth of the key in the shaft increases the stress concentration and reduces its strength. Okay. So this additional depth which is given by this semicircular shape, that causes the stress concentration in the shaft, and also the cross section of shaft becomes weak, so it reduces the strength. The key does not permit the axial movement between the shaft and the hub. Okay, so that is this point you can write in almost every key except feather key, because feather key is the only key that permits axial movement between the shaft and the hub. Okay. And Woodruff keys are used on the taper shaft in the machine tools and automobiles. So generally these taper shafts are used in the machine tools and automobiles. So whenever the taper shafts are used, this Woodruff key is used to connect the hub and that tapered shaft. Okay. So thanks for watching this lecture. So this is about this today's lecture. If you have any doubt or query, you can ask right now.